Liquid's turn to ban.
And we're back for our second series of the day. Rattlesnake, the wild card, going to be taking on Team Liquid. Now, let's be totally real here. Rolling into the preliminary group stages, Team Liquid was a team who had seen a lot of success dating back a few months ago, of course, being one of two Western teams to land themselves in Shanghai for the live land finals at G1. They had a bit of a lackluster experience there, and since then, even boot camping and everything else, they had just felt really unstable. They had just really had this down and out kind of feeling, like a team who had lost its identity to a certain extent. It was just looking more than anything to recapture the magic that had made them such a successful, dominant team months before. And now, all of a sudden, we roll into the group stages, and we're seeing some of the up and some of the down, sure, but we see them blank a Western team, or excuse me, an Eastern team being the second Western team yesterday that we casted on our docket to do so, and you start to see that confidence return, and now they're going to be taking on another Western team, and one of the more interesting ones at that, led by Lanham with playmakers at every position. Rattlesnake Gaming, self-anointed new team of old veterans, guys who are no strangers to big land settings and winning their way in by the skin of their teeth, getting past Quantic in the wild card match, and punching their ticket to, well, they're already in Seattle, but punching their ticket to the big stage at Benaroyo Hall. This is a team that's going to be playing, they got to be playing with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, but they also have to have that feeling of, you know, nothing to lose. And taking on Team Liquid here, both teams honestly have some similarities that we'll talk about a little bit later, at least in what their players can do and what they do tend to draft. This is actually a match I've been looking forward to since I saw the original schedule release yesterday, Draskell.
Yeah, it should be a really good one. The thing is, for Rattlesnake, though, they're coming into this 1-5. Like, we talked about the last match and how important it was for LGD to take a game off of Fnatic, which they did end up doing. But this one is like, if Rattlesnake don't win this game, there is a very, very small chance that they're going to be getting into the upper brackets. So they really need to take this seriously. Liquid, though, actually get Wisp, which is, you and I personally, we haven't got to cast any... actually, did we cast one? I think we did.
We did.
Fnatic, I think, played it yesterday, right?
Yep, something like that.
Okay, so there was one other Wisp game, but this is going to be the second one. And Rattlesnake, I haven't seen much of them this tournament yet, so I'm excited to see what they're going to bring here. And like you said, they are very, very experienced players, but for whatever reason, they just can't seem to catch their footing here in the preliminaries, so we'll see what they're bringing here today.
Alchemist going to be the counter pickup. They're going to go ahead and grab 2 cores, or at least 1.5, depending on how you want to run that Alchemist. Going to be the Alch plus the LS. And right off the bat, you see Rattlesnake grab those 2 heroes. Like, if you're going to give away an IO and you're willing to do that, you have to figure, I mean, there aren't many Western teams at all that will not first pick an IO if you give it away. And Rattlesnake's certainly a team of, again, you know, the self-anointed new team of old veterans, a crafty team who knows how to do their homework, to immediately counterpick Alchemist and Lifestealer, 2 heroes that can fight so effectively, especially if the Alchemist does end up being a mid, does end up getting up a very quick mechanism. That tells me they're just flat out comfortable with the idea of playing against an IO, and that they feel like their coordination, their decision-making, their ability to stick close enough together to never be unsafe against an IO, but far enough away that you don't end up with terrible inefficiencies in gold and experience gain. Sounds to me like that's something Rattlesnake, just based on these front 3, must feel pretty confident in dealing with.
Well, Rattlesnake have picked heroes that are what I would call 5-man gamers, right?
Right, exactly.
You just pick 2 front lines, and you just pick a good support cast to walk behind them and just go 5-man, which is great against Wisp, because the whole point of Wisp is to surprise your opponent and being able to take fights in isolated places on the map. It also is good because you can follow the CK in this case, which is going to be Team Liquid's second pick, around and just make sure that he can always be at a fight while you two just get your experience and gold together. Right. So it lets you utilize the map really well, which is something that the Chinese teams in general weren't so good at dealing with before, but they've seen it a lot. They've had time to adapt, and it looks like Rattlesnake's answer is going to be, let's pick a front line that is very durable, even though CK at level 11 has one of the highest physical damage outputs in the game, or just pure damage in general on a single target. So he's still really scary, but we'll see what the bans are going to be here from Rattlesnake. Of course, Liquid, they aren't going to have necessarily the best lane, because as many people in the Western scene know, Wisp is not a fantastic laner, but we also haven't seen secondary support.
Wisp is one of those heroes, and I agree with you, by the way. It's, you know, Wisp is one of those heroes that he's not a fantastic laner, but if you have, when you draft against it, and this is a conversation I've had with some players from Evil Geniuses before, when you draft against it, you have to be real careful that you don't underestimate what little gimmicks you can pair with it that just make the lane feel impossible. In particular, Fear. despises the idea of a CK IO keeper of the light defensive tri-lane or even offensive tri-lane, just because of how unbelievably regenerative that entire lane is, how impossible it is to unless you just have a bottomless well of clarities, to be able to hang and bang with them unless you just pick up at one of the most unbelievably efficient offensive tri-lanes and so on and so forth. So, that combination, and again, I'm not disagreeing with you. Just it's one of the things that, whenever you think IO, you think nothing but relocate ganks. And yes, that's a huge part of what the hero does and what he's capable of doing. But hell, I've seen games where I've seen solo mid IO actually just relocate on people's faces and use nothing but his orbs to blow people up. Like, there's just so much more subtlety to the hero than I think a lot of people realize. But Team Liquid, a team that certainly knows the ins and the outs of the hero and will be able to get a lot out of him, make no mistake. Rattlesnake
Team
actually
Liquid's
banning out the
turn to
Viper.
ban.
So, Liquid, they did their homework. Liquid picks funny stuff sometimes.
What I actually thought was going to happen was that Liquid were going to pick Ursa instead of CK because they showed how good it can be. Because that
10
one game they
seconds
played yesterday
remaining.
where they picked Ursa and Viper together, they were against the DK Lifestealer, which up
5
until that point you and I had
seconds
watched multiple times in the same day, and it seemed pretty much unstoppable because there was no way to really break through that line. But Ursa and Viper together were more than enough to shred heroes like the Lifestealer and the DK. So but this time, Rattlesnake, like you said, they're not going to give him the opportunity, and Chen was banned out by Liquid, so there's not going to be any supplementation of pushing coming out from Liquid either. It's probably just going to be a straight up defensive tri-lane, and Keeper of the Light is still on the table if that's the way they want to go.
Right.
Also opens up the jungle for a lot of farming, especially when you think that the opponent is going to be dodging you. And I like that idea because Rattlesnake have an Alchemist, and we're not sure if it's going to be mid yet because it's a Lifestealer, but if it's in the safe lane and you're dodging, then you want to be darn sure if you're Team Liquid you get the most efficient defensive tri-lane possible, and Keeper of the Light I think helps that a lot.
Absolutely agree with you completely. And Rattlesnake, taking out the Visage. And again, we've talked about that. Visage is a pretty common hero now. I mean, we've seen him played all day yesterday and all day today. And picked and ban, but that's again another. I wouldn't call it a straight up respect ban because the hero on his own is just strong. But again, Rattlesnake, a team that knows how to do their homework. When I look at what they've banned out, getting rid of IX Mike's Treant Protector, one of his favorite heroes in the world to play on. And he's last I checked, maybe it's changed, but last I checked, he had lost like one game out of 38 or some nonsense whenever he was playing competitive tree or something like that. So, but yeah, the Viper, the Visage. Two heroes Liquid have shown a propensity to use. The Enchantress pickup for Rattlesnake is going to give them even more ability to fight early. Liquid's actually going to show us a Bane. Nice counter to both Lifestealer and Alchemist. Bane, one of those heroes as an anti-carry. That's kind of how I always think of him. He's kind of an anti-carry, and even in any situation. But whenever it's two core lineups like this in particular, the fact that Enfeeble and Nightmare can be used in conjunction with the big one, of course, Fiend's Grip, just allows you to account for multiple targets in different ways. And it's the fact that Enfeeble and Fiend's Grip in particular do go through Magic Immunity. If you get the Enfeeble off before the Magic Immunity is activated, you can't purge it off, and then you can Fiend's Grip through it as well. So Liquid, they're kind of taking a split approach to this. Getting the IO and the Chaos Knight's going to allow them to set the pace the way they want, and now a very reactionary pick coming out in third.
Yeah, the Bane is definitely a great choice. I thought they might just go Keeper because it gives you so much ability to split the map open that it would be very difficult for Rattlesnake to ever really formulate a 5-man push. You can avoid the engagements that you don't want to take, and since Keeper of the Light can sideline push pretty much by himself in very safe positions, if you were ever to try to kill him, you can just wisp relocate on him and punish the gank. So Bane is definitely a solid choice for the reasons that you just mentioned, and plus right now, Rattlesnake only have one way of stopping Fiend's Grip.
Right.
They only have an unstable concoction, so we'll see what their next choices are going to be. They're going to need at least one support and potentially an offlaner if they do plan on sending an Alchemist mid, which is looking more and more like it will be the case. And since OD is still in the pool, Team Liquid could potentially put that on. I know they love giving Korok heroes that can dominate lanes like Queen of Pain, OD. He does play Puck quite often too, but we'll see the choice here just in a second.
Take a look at Rattlesnake. And this is a throwback to to when I saw them have some
Rattlesnake's
pretty
turn
good
to ban.
success in G1. If that is indeed a mid-alchemist, that would give us a farming lifestealer with Enchantress in the jungle and Jakiro as a lane support, leaving them with an off-lane choice. When I look at what they've just selected here, a hero that for a while was just hugely popular with a number of
10
teams,
seconds
both of these
remaining.
teams in particular, was Clockwork. Kabu plays a phenomenal
5
Clockwork, one of the
seconds
best
remaining.
I've ever seen. And yeah, and Bulba is another guy who just plays a phenomenal clock. And that's kind of when I talk about the similarities these two
Team
teams
Liquid's
have
turn to
in terms of
ban.
their players and what hero pool they like to stick to. That's one
Rattlesnake's
big one that
turn to
stands
pick.
out. So if they are indeed looking for an off lane here, they could have the option of offensively tri-laning if they really want to put some pressure onto this IOCK lane. Bane, as good as he can be in that situation, again, IO just doesn't do as well as you would like in high-pressure situations. Offensively jungle, the Enchantress, Lifestealer, of course, very tough for a CK to deal with because he can rage through a Chaos Bolt following a Reality Rift. And there it is, the Clockwork. I was just that
Team
makes so
Liquid's
much sense to me
turn
when
to
you look
pick.
at what they're going to have, because Clockwork is so disruptive to, you can't use an IO and a CK and a clock. It just isn't going to work the way you want it to. So, and especially when you're talking 5-man team fight, the one thing they were really lacking was one hero who could just initiate from range. You have Jakiro with Ice Path, that's fine. You have Alchemist in the range on Unstable Concoctions, not bad. But a nice initiator that can just take Team Liquid out of
10
their comfort
seconds
zone.
remaining.
Clockwork, a phenomenal pickup there, and now Liquid going to answer with Nature's Prophet.
It was pretty much the only
Rattlesnake
offlaner left. Like, there were literally no other options. Darkseer was banned. Like you said, Kabu gets his Clockwork. And I believe that Weaver was also taken out of the pool, too. So their Batrider is obviously always banned or picked. And yeah, Bulba, he gets his Nature's Prophet. Most often, he usually plays it as a farming Nature's Prophet. He very seldom goes things like mech. And of course, since Korax OD, he's most likely going to be the mech carrier. But I love the synergy between Clockwork and Jakiro especially, because it's so nice to be able to line up Macropyres with Cogs. Even if the Cogs are level 1, it's still 5 seconds. And
Right.
Macropyre lasts a maximum of 7. So you're going to be just sitting inside of Cogs, hating your life, and getting a lot of damage done to you in that time. So I definitely love Rattlesnake's lineup, but I also think that Team Liquid have an equally strong one as well.
Oh, yeah.
There
10
are
seconds
not a
remaining.
whole lot of things right now that they're going to be able to do to actually stay 100%
seconds
on
remaining.
somebody, because either your teammate can get imprisoned, you can get nightmared, you can get gripped, you can get chaos bolted, you can even get sprouted, which is a 3 melee hero composition is relatively frustrating for Rattlesnake, because they're going to have a Lifestealer who really wants to sit on somebody. But
Prepare for
the
battle.
combination of Clockwork and Lifestealer 2 is really nice, because when you hook in, you get the 3 infest damage, and you can be stuck inside of Cogs with a Lifestealer and a Clockwork.
Both lineups, and yeah, and this is kind of why I really was looking forward to this match so much whenever I saw it on the docket. Is, both teams just have this style where they're very synergistic, and I know that sounds so corporate-y, but it's really the truth. They really tend to pick lineups that are based on how heroes interact with themselves in their own composition, even more so than how heroes tend to react to the other team's composition. And, it's different drafting styles, so on and so forth, and it's almost always, and then, well, pretty much always is, a mix of the two. But they, these big chains of initiation, the way that heroes just function within smaller subsets of each other, that's what I
30
love to see out of
seconds
both
to
of these
battle.
teams. And we can see Liquid and Rattlesnake both being very aggressive. Rattlesnake checking out and warding up near the secret shop, and Liquid's going to go ahead and head in that direction too. TC leading the way. We'll run through our lineups here shortly just to see who's going to be playing on who after we make sure there will be no blood spilled. 8 seconds till the rune spawns. They're looking for trouble. They're going to make a rush on it. Now there's a Chaos Bolt into Kabu. Short stun, dual breath, does get the slow off. Nature's Attendant skilled by Kabu. And that's actually a surprise for me. I just noticed Kabu's actually playing the Enchantress with Icy playing on the Clockwork. I don't know that I saw anyone but Kabu play on the Clockwork whenever I casted them for G1. So yeah, that was a huge surprise. But nonetheless, tell you who's playing on everyone else as well. TC as mentioned. CK going to be under his control. Korok setting up shop in mid on the OD. Gonna have Fluff and Stuff playing on the IO, no surprise there, with Bulba, of course, on the Nature's Prophet, and Bane gonna be handled by IX Mike, and they're actually gonna be offensively tri-laning, which is fascinating. We'll get to that in a moment. Luo gonna be trying to farm up his Alchemist in the face of this offensive tri-lane. We're gonna have Lanham setting up shop in mid. Second time since we started the prelims, you and I have had a chance to cast the mid Lifestealer. Kabu, not on the hero I thought he would be on. Instead, going to be on the Enchantress. Going to be keeping tabs on this lane, especially under this pressure. Icy going to be setting up shop one-on-one against the Nature's Prophet. Bulba should do just fine here, if for no other reason than he's so experienced on a clock that he's going to know how to play this matchup fairly well. And Unstable Concoction going to connect on IX Mike as he retreats. But last but not least, going to have Saghart M playing on our Jakiro.
Yeah, I just want to mention really quickly that first blood attempt, if TC skilled Reality Rift instead of stun, I'm pretty sure they would have killed him. Because Reality Rift, even though it's only going to give you the 0.75 second stun from the tether, it's still going to be more damage, and, well, maybe not more damage, but it's going to pull him back to the point where your supports can actually do something. And then you can Nightmare, get in front of him, and then just flat out kill him. So interesting, skilling the Chaos Bolt first. Maybe he was hoping for a 2-second stun. Middle, Lanham is going to have an absolute horrendous time against an OD. No real surprise there. And top is actually a bit scary for Rattlesnake too, just because of the fact that even though Wisp CK is not tremendously strong until the heroes get like level 3, 5, of course, and then you want to get relocated so you can start being all over the map. You have a Bane to help that out, and Brain Sap, even at level 2, is 160 pure damage, and Alchemist has like no armor at all.
Right.
So Luo is going to feel incredibly scared to farm in this lane for quite some time as well.
One thing that I want to keep an eye on, and they're not rushing it, as they did pick up plenty of regen and so on and so forth, but it's going to be how committed to this tri-lane Liquid happens to be. I mean, obviously they're here. They're not going to want to just abandon it at the slightest provocation. But whenever I see Wisp IO, or excuse me, IO CK lanes really work out, it's usually when they pick up a bottle. And that's 600 gold that obviously Liquid will not want to delay other items. But it so much just increases your viability, especially when you're talking two extremely mana-hungry heroes like a Bane and a, we're actually going to see Bulba. Oh no! Bulba, what happened? Oh, it was the stun. The stun from Battery Assault. He just popped Battery Assault as Bulba was trying to get away. And Rattlesnake rotating Lanham down and immediately sending him back to mid. Lanham with that DD, they tracked Bulba down and got first blood on the board. So well played by the Easterners.
Yeah, really unexpected gank, actually. I don't think Bulba had any clue. And TC actually being initiated on top.
There's going to be a Nightmare trying to bail him out. There's two caught by that. TC's in big trouble. He drops now. Mike trying to run away. He will barely be... No, one ice pad. Fresh off cooldown, and all of a sudden, a game, and it feels like the opposite. It's opposite day today, because yesterday, this is what happened in Liquid's first game against an Eastern opponent. Hang on, reinitiation on the Luo. Luo will be helped out some. He's going to be able to run away with 47. No, one auto attack coming out from Fluff and Stuff. Manages to pick him off. Max range on that auto attack had to have been, so the range creep that is Io at this level. Managing to get the job done. They finally get on the board, and they get on the board with a very good kill. But yeah, this is like opposite day, because this is exactly what Liquid did. Just came out and started notching kills super quick and got a game out of control.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate, honestly, for Liquid's tri-lane. Losing like that, like losing kills, especially your CK getting bursted down. He even tried to go for the Nightmare just to stop the extra damage output. If he gets the Nightmare as the concoctions in the air and it doesn't stun or do damage, then he's fine. But it was late, so he actually just lined up the Centaur Stomp for the Enchantress, which was like a total backfire. But yeah, all things considered, Rattlesnake looking pretty good right now. Oh, mid, though, gets solo killed by Korok. And I was not expecting Sanity's Eclipse at level 7.
Yeah, me either. And apparently neither was the Lifestealer. Keeping an eye on Team Liquid as they are continuing to play very aggressive up here. And really, this is what they need to do. They need to be committed to it. And honestly, despite giving up the kills, they're doing all right. CS-wise, they are in great shape. 30 for the OD, 23 for Bulba, 21 for the CK in an offensive tri-lane where he's already died once. So in terms of pure farm, he's doing quite well. And then after that, you're talking the top 3 in last hits all belong to Team Liquid. So very close game, especially after netting those 2 kills, one in mid. And Korok really, it's so often, and I guess it's true to a certain extent about any team when their mid does well. But when Korok gets off to a good start, he's very much one of those mids that plays a very good game in most circumstances, but with a head of momentum, he is so good and so much fun to watch, especially on a hero like this, which he's very comfortable on and really does enjoy playing.
He's one of the playmakers, that's the thing. Like, whenever you give somebody who's a playmaker a tremendous amount of farm and a lane that's supposed to absolutely crush his opponent, you're giving him exactly what they need to succeed inside of the game. So, I do love the choice, actually, to put him on OD in that situation, and I'm really surprised that Rattlesnake didn't see that coming. It was pretty obvious, actually, after the first 4 bans, that they didn't have a mid. They wanted something that was going to just hands down force Rattlesnake into a lane that would lose, and then they would use the Wisp and the CK to aggressively play against the Alchemist because, well, even though he can get kills, Alchemist is not that durable until he gets his ultimate. So Liquid still should, on paper, be winning 2 of their lanes. Rattlesnake played it well, though. Ended up getting a kill on Bulba in the bottom lane and getting kills on top. But now is the time, basically, when the heroes are starting to get closer to 6, and initiation top.
Nice path, unstable concoction. TC gonna be a nightmare. Now here comes Fluff and stuff. Gonna hook up, and Nature's Wrath as Bulba TP's in. They're looking for a target. They're gonna find it. It's gonna be Kabu. And Liquid pulling the trigger on the reaction in a big way. Icy joined up as well. He is level 7, has a hook. Fluff gonna poke his nose around and just sit there and say hello. Is he? Okay, he's invis. It's so it's so hard to tell when Wisp is invisible. Like whenever he pops, because I knew he had an invis rune. But he actually did end up picking that bottle up that I was talking about. And sometimes, like I've seen variations of both. You'll see an IO lane like this where they'll just say, well, we're going to do this, then we're going to try to break down very quickly at level 6 and start collapsing elsewhere, so we're not going to worry about it. Why don't you just get boots instead so you're a little bit more survivable that way? But when they begin to dedicate or just commit to the idea of staying in lane, and as I say that, of course, they do go ahead and collapse mid. But usually the bottle's such a good choice. And Fluff certainly putting it to good use now. Here in mid, he's got 2 targets. Kabu and Icy, who I don't think has been spotted sitting over mids.
Yeah, they're going to spot him now, though, and he needs to be very, very careful. He's got the second point in heal, but that's not going to be enough. Like, between the Spirits, the CK stun, and Korok walking over there, of course, he does have his ultimate too now. They could burst him quite easily, but I don't see any point, really, for Liquid to abandon that top lane. Like, there's no reason to move. The whole point of Wisp CK is that you can actually sit wherever you want because you can just relocate to wherever you need to be. That's kind of the strength of it. It's not necessarily the teleport itself, but it's the threat of the teleport, and it's not having to make useless movements. That's the whole strength of the heroes. So Rattlesnake kind of losing a bit of ground here in the last couple of minutes. I mean, it's only 8 minutes in. There's already been 6 kills, which is pretty action-packed considering most games. But Luo, not only is he not really farming that well, but he's not even getting points into Greevil's Greed because he can't. If he does, he's not going to have the damage output on the concoction. Actually, we're going to see Fluff die here in the woods. Very unfortunate for him. But if he doesn't do that, they can't get kills.
Yep. Luo gonna toss out another unstable concoction. And yeah, the way we saw that, I had the camera on that kill on Fluff. Now we're gonna have Sag engaged upon. See, do they have the damage? Sure do. Bulba comes in to help make it a party. And Luo gotta go running. TC's not done. Chaos Bolt off cooldown, but unable to get himself into range. And I love what Liquid's doing, and this is very much how Bulba plays Prophet. I mean, and there are all different styles, and you do what the situation merits. But there are definitely some Prophet players who prefer to just sit and make sure their Midas comes out and make sure their Shadow Blade at least gets underway before they really start to get very aggressive. And of course, again, that is dedicated or determined in many ways by the lane ace and just the shape it takes. But Bulba, as a player, you can tell his personality shines through. He loves to be active. He is much more comfortable as a player, making sure he is leaving lane many times before 10 minutes. That's just how he is. And already 2 very effective ganks coming out of him. And I do want to point out this sexy Scythe of Ice he's swinging, by the way. I have one of those, and everyone should be jealous of me. But yes, I was told that I should always point that out. Hang on, we're going to have a hook on the Bulba. And can't do anything but wait on some help. Not going to get there in time to save hope. Somehow, well, almost got there in time, and now TC's there. They're going to clean up Icy. Korok there as well. The infest into one of the creeps. And it is a friendly creep. It looks like they know it. Yep, they're pinging it out, and out comes Lanham. Only a 1-second Chaos Bolt, not the best RNG love there. Astral Imprisonment, though, and this isn't, he actually able to eat his way out. I was going to make a really funny joke, but obviously I can't now because it didn't work out the way I expected. However, Liquid with a big turnaround after losing Bulba.
You know, I was kind of wondering why he didn't just go for the Sprout and to make sure he's in the cogs. The Battery Assault didn't kill him, but I'm going to just let that one slide because I love Sam. But still, nice turnaround. Liquid going to be able to push the tier 1. And as far as Bulba's movement goes, it's because it fits their lineup. I mean, they are a team who is supposed to apply pressure, and going for the phase boots into the Midas gives him a lot of right-click potential early in the game, and plus, it helps him in the laning phase against a melee hero, because Stout Shield oftentimes is enough to offset ranged heroes' damage enough early to where you don't just get totally dominated, but as soon as you get phase boots, his right clicks hurt so much more. I mean, 24 damage, the ability to position yourself better in the lane and such, it's just such a nice item to get when you're in that 1 versus 1 matchup. And of course, he plays both of those heroes extensively anyway, so he knows what he can and can't get away with. But still, it's 6-5. I think Liquid have a bigger advantage that's being led on in terms of the kills, especially considering they're doing this well and their Wisp isn't even 6 yet. That's when it's going to get really scary for Rattlesnake.
As of right now, not a single tower is down on either side. Just about 2,000 gold going the way of Team Liquid. The experience right near 0, below 250 difference, so very, very close. This IO, though, is going to be a decently clipped 6 here in mid. We are going to have an engagement as we see the Astral Imprisonment. The Macro Pyre is down, and the Fiend's Grip on the Icy. They're just trying to catch Korok. And there we go, able to clean him up. The rest of Liquid shows up. Icy will be cleaned up yet again. Bulba's there, throws the Sprout out, manages to catch Sag. Lanham now looking to re-engage, has an Infest. If he wants an Open Wounds off cooldown, he'll use it. Bulba, Nightmare to try and bail him out. Chaos Bolt, 3 seconds on him. IX Mike able to retrieve. Bulba will be picked off, however, Lanham again pursuing his target, has Infest if he needs it, will use it as Luo shows up, comes back out to secure the kill. Now they're going to try, or excuse me, actually Suicide's coming back out. And now TC, next on the list. Not sure why he came out there. Could have just stayed inside and kept himself safe as he had the whole cavalry behind them. Nonetheless, a disastrous turnaround for Team Liquid as they lose 4 in very quick conjunction. And this early fight potential we were talking about during the draft, we knew with the Alchemist, even as bad a start as he has had, the way the hero works, the strength of Unstable Concoction, especially in conjunction with Acid Spray with not a single point put into Greevil's Greed, they have the ability to punish Liquid if they ever group up or ever get out of position, and Rattlesnake certainly did that.
Yeah, it was a very well executed fight. The one thing that I kind of don't get is Korok, I mean, he was caught out of position. I mean, there's nothing else to say. But he could have at least thrown his ulti before he died to put more damage on Rattlesnake, because 2 of the 3 heroes there were susceptible to taking some damage. I'm fairly certain that Lanham was raged, but still, you do enough to where your team can actually finish off heroes as opposed to them having even more. When you're going to have a full 5 versus 5 commitment like that, you better use everything before you die. And I think Korok went into panic mode and just didn't do anything and kind of just fell over. So a bit unfortunate, but I still think Liquid's okay. Definitely a great win for Rattlesnake. They need to keep that kind of momentum going, though. They can't be satisfied with just taking one fight, especially considering that fight didn't yield them a tower or anything, really. There's not been any tower taken down on the map just yet.
We're going to see Rattlesnake make the way in the Roshan. No vision at all from Team Liquid right now. Taking a look at their items as we wait for Roche to die, as it almost certainly will. We can see, actually trying a smoke gank up, there was a DD on TC. And little do they know, the reason they can't find anything is, of course, because Roshan's busy being slowed down by the untouchable Kabu. And Lifestealer going to find himself an Aegis. And getting a Roshan at 14 minutes like that is such a big deal. The experience that they get, it's a nice little boost, allows them to play catch-up, especially for someone like Icy, who has died a whole huggy bunch. Poor guy has not had the best opening game. Actually, he's only died twice. I had it in my head he died 3 times. I guess it's the phantom death I'm imagining. But I guess I was thinking of the Lifestealer. But Bulba, another hero who has had a rough start, does have his Midas, as you mentioned, and his phase boots up now, though, so he'll begin to start making progress. But Rattlesnake, I mean, the game is still very, very even. Rattlesnake is trailing, but this is where I feel like they can really begin to put this lineup through its paces and really begin to show just how much damage output they can have whenever they're able to put it all together.
Yeah, I think they have a timer, though. The problem is going to start to lie when Bulba gets a Shadow Blade, which he's got 1,400 gold right now. He just picked up the Claymore. They're going to start pulling the map apart. If you're Liquid, that's going to be the go-to plan now, because the 5 versus 5 hasn't really gone that well for them. They only have one way to stop that right now if you're Rattlesnake, and that's a Clockwork Initiation. And it's not always going to be so easy to do, because you're going to have to worry about the Wisp CK teleporting on you if you go for the Prophet. So they have like a backup for when they want to try to counter-initiate on Bulba. So I feel like Liquid's game plan is still pretty solid here. Rattlesnake have done a pretty decent job of compensating for the laning phase. Like the laning phase top, Luo didn't have the greatest start. He's still only sitting at 55 CS at 15 minutes, which isn't great. But he's gone for the full spray medallion build, so he can fight, which is okay.
Yeah, like you said, maxing the spray in particular. I mean, just skipping Greevil's Greed entirely. Like Bulba was thinking about. Bouncing up north, but making decent progress toward that Shadow Blade. I'm actually a little surprised Rattlesnake is playing as passively as they are right now. The way that they've built, again, the Alchemist, not just the Alchemist, but their entire team. Phase drums on land are pretty typical stuff. They do still have that Aegis to use. And now Kabu with a chainmail. We'll see what he wants to end up doing with that. But, yeah, Icy. He's really had some struggles, but he will have level 2 hook coming up very, very soon. Almost level 11 with Shakiro. Sitting at level 8 at the moment. But yeah, this is a time when I feel like they should be trying to catch Liquid out. With Fluff being level 7, obviously movement's something that comes with its inherent risks, but and you know, you look at their positioning. They just don't want to separate out that too much. They want to make sure that if Liquid does commit to a relocate gank, that they have an entire team collapsing on them at any given moment.
Yeah, and you can see how aggressive these wards are, man. Like, they really just want to see the jungle. They want to know exactly where Rattlesnake are the entire time, so then they can force the issue. And they have TC farming the opposite side of the map where they have vision, which is exactly how it should be done. And the one thing about this kind of a lineup is that if you're going to initiate and you're Rattlesnake, you want to go on the Wisp and the CK. You don't want to go on anyone else, because whatever fight you're going to start, you might as well just add 2 heroes from Liquid to it. So the game plan that Liquid has is pretty much slow the pace of the game, let TC get his BKB, so we can go in and feel, well, more or less unkillable, at least until the Lifestealer and the Alchemist get more items. But Rattlesnake, they're not going to give him the chance. They're converging on bottom.
Here we go. TC caught up and cogged in. There we go. Now we're going to have to follow up. Ice Path's going to be there as well. TC going to be chopped on by Luo. Down he goes. Now Fluff and Stuff in trouble as well. That's a double kill for Icy. And they're not done. They're going to pop a drum charge and chase Mike down. Unstable Concoction, sent to point blank. Ice Path to follow it up. Don't even need the open wounds. And this is the Rattlesnake that I remember casting in G1. The Rattlesnake I remember seeing throughout the qualifiers. A team that whenever this is just their game plan. And they remind me a little bit, I'm trying to think of a good example. They remind me a little bit of old school Empire. That they can play stable when they want, but they really just shine whenever they're moving across the map and just trying to make things happen. That's why they tend to pick playmaking heroes like Clockwork as often as they do.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
Yeah, I do like the style that Rattlesnake is playing right now. The one thing that bothers me for Liquid is that was so obvious. Like, you have vision of their entire jungle. Right. There's no one farming the safe lane with the creep wave pushed up that far, and you get ganked. Like, that was so obvious that I'm amazed that they actually got caught out by that. And I like the choice of obviously pushing the tier 1 as opposed to just fighting when you already had lost 3 heroes. They might have been able to TP to force Rattlesnake back and not kill the support Bane, but honestly killing a tower for them is more important than saving poor IX Mike at this point in the game. But Liquid are making a lot of mistakes here. Like, their lineup, the way that they were supposed to run this, I would give them an advantage inherently, but the one thing we always have to keep in mind too is that Rattlesnake, even though they're making good plays, look at the CS.
Oh, yeah.
Like, these heroes don't have any farm, like, at all. All the farm is coming from tower kills, Roshan, and fights.
Mm-hmm. And there is yeah, I think you summed it up, you know, coming from fights, but you can only do that so long, especially against the lineup like Rattlesnake has. If they just group as 5 and slowly move, that doesn't mean they have to play passively. The group as 5 slowly move around, and with Luo now actually going straight survivability, opting to skip a Shadow Blade, which I thought might have been an option. Instead, he has the Ogre Club, and is most likely saving for his BKB. TC making good progress towards his as well. But yeah, I mean, you get a BKB up, and you've got enough AoE. Hold on, Sag just blown up there. Up, hang on, counter initiation. Bulba hit by Icy. He will be cleaned up. Should be cleaned up. He's actually under cover of his Shadow Blade, so no vision. And the relocate does expire, so IO and CK head back from whence they came. And yeah, I was actually really surprised Icy wasn't able to clean him up. I thought one swipe with that double damage, but Bulba able to Shadow Blade his way to safety.
Well, that's not going to happen again. The next time they go in, they're going to have Dust or Sentries or something to see him. So Bulba is thanking his lucky stars that they didn't know he had a Shadow Blade just yet. But it's a really common build, so I'm actually kind of surprised they weren't already carrying Dust to begin with. Regardless, Rattlesnake's still looking to be okay. The armlet's picked up now on Lanham. And a BKB on the Clockwork means that the OD is not going to be able to just kill him as soon as he initiates, which is huge. Because if Icy can actually stay alive and get one or more cogs off during a team fight, that is incredibly disruptive to the lineup of Liquid. And even if you do BKB on the CK, you have to walk around the cogs still, or you can still get stuck inside of them, which is definitely not where you want to be.
And here we go. Icy with the passenger going to go ahead and chase down Fluff. Fluff going to hook back up. Open wound slowed him down. They're going to try to blow him up. Sag going to throw out an ice path that helps secure the kill. TC being pursued. Kabu did not get off the enchant. I'm actually surprised TC wasn't slowed there. He might be able to do so now if he wants to, and he does. And Icy was trying to throw the hook. Now the re-engagement. Phantasm's there. Ice Path dodged by TC, but he is surrounded by enemies. Force Staff trying to get him back to safety, but pursued out. Open wounds and one Astral Imprisonment trying to buy time. Korok now the target. Ice Path immaculately timed. They're going to mech through this. TC with 9 lives finally dies, but not before Korok can drop the hammer on his own. However, the follow-up just isn't there. Another 2-man Ice Path. Mike, though, gonna throw off the Fiend's Grip. Lanham cleaned up by Bulba. Sprouts in Kabu. Here comes Fluff and Stuff to continue to fight. Kabu blocked by the treants. He can't get by them. Couple of auto attacks, and that'll be that. They end up trading 2 for 3. And almost, Sack almost got nightmared there. Actually didn't have the mana, so it wouldn't have mattered. But now they're not done. Bulba with a Sprout off. They're going to re-engage. Luo throws out the Unstable Concoction. Sag uses the Ice Path, however, misses 2 of the 3. Sag chopped down. Now Luo might be in trouble. This is going to be a full 5 if they're able to finish. Bulba going to have his Shadow Blade up, so Pursuit going to be a simple thing when he wants it. Icy's there to try and help, though, but Bulba looking for the bonus damage. Dust goes off. Nature's Wrath is off cooldown. He was trying to use it. It just flashed on it. There it goes, Luo, no! Will turn back around and throw the big middle finger at Bulba, dropping the acid and helping get the kill as Icy, finally, with a by your leave of a rocket flare, brings it in to an absolute madhouse of a battle there in mid. In the end, 13-17, nope, never mind, we're not done. Icy gonna eat a 2-second Chaos Bolt. Here comes Liquid once again, banging him down. He's down to half. He has no help coming, so that's just a free kill. As the Clockwork, sadly, going for a stroll at the wrong time of night. The end result, 14-17. The goal graph right about where it was when it started. Wouldn't you know?
You know, after watching the Fnatic LGD second game and then watching this game, the feel is totally different. It's like these two teams just are going at each other. A lot of mistakes are happening, like really weird mistakes. Like TC, the way that he died in middle was definitely awkward.
Yep.
And just the lack of communication on Liquid and Rattlesnake and people just walking in and dying for no reason. I mean, I don't even know what I'm watching anymore, but they're going to go on bottom, and Bulba, that tower is not even going to get killed by you.
Bulba the green, and it got denied too. That's insult to injury. Bulba doing what Bulba does, playing some chest out Dota decides, you know what? I just need to teleport directly point blank in front of an enemy's tower so I can get this kill. But Rattlesnake notches Bulba's, he's having an up and down one, not gonna lie. He kinda is. 4 and 5. Hell, that's everyone though. What am I talking about? 5 and 4. The only one who's actually having a reliably sufficient game in terms of deaths and kills is Luo, and he was the one who was up against an offensive tri-lane to begin. Everyone else is hanging right around the 1-to-1 ratio. Now Roshan though, his KD not very good. He's about to make it 0 and 2, unless Liquid wants to challenge this, and Mike finally, he's just going to get off the Fiend's Grip. Ice Path right below him. Now they're going to re-engage. There's the Phantasm going to suck Kabu in. Roche is still up. He's going to get involved. They're going to mech through. In the meantime, Bulba going to die once more. Fluff and Stuff just passing through town. Going to tether up to IX Mike, and they're going to get out of town. Here comes Korok, initiated on by Icy once again. And the pain train just keeps absolutely rolling at this point. Both teams not wanting to slow down. 34 kills in a 24-minute game. And I'm about to make it another one for Roshan as well, as Rattlesnake comes out ahead and will claim their second Aegis of this match. Absolute madness. And like you said, man, it's sometimes sloppy's not always bad. It's fun, if nothing else.
Yeah, I honestly gotta say, clearly Rattlesnake are outplaying Liquid here. Bulba is like going in the weirdest spots. Like, why would he go in the middle like that? What did he think was going to happen? They've been carrying Dust ever since they realized that he had the Shadow Blade. And he just stands there, eats an unstable concoction, and just dies. And I mean, IX Spike, he initiated the fight on a hero who had a haste turn and a bottle when there was no follow-up damage with the Fiend's Grip. I had no idea. Like, this is not the Liquid that I saw yesterday, that's for sure.
I totally agree. Totally agree. And sometimes, I mean, to be honest, sometimes it can come down to just the composition you draft. Sometimes you can, for lack of a better way to put it, you get sucked in by your own lineup. Like, Liquid has drafted this lineup that needs to fight. You know, it's not, you don't draft IOCK so you can sit around and farm to the late game. You draft IOCK so you can go rack up 1,000 kills, make the enemy hate farming alone, and take control of the map, both mentally and practically. So you combine that with the global presence of a Nature's Prophet and an inherently aggressive player in Bulba, and sometimes that just happens. You get caught up in what you need to be doing with your lineup, or what you convince yourself you need to be doing with your lineup, and you start to focus on that to the detriment of things like communication and synergy and you know, just good mechanics in terms of how you initiate these fights. And either way, though, like I said, I'm not complaining. It's a hell of a fun match to cast.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. I mean, there's a kill pretty much more than every minute. So, as it stands right now, though, Liquid, they gotta slow it down a bit. They can't just keep taking these fights this recklessly and hope for it to go well. The one thing about their lineup that is good is that they can farm the map a lot better than Rattlesnake can, and Rattlesnake know that, so that's why they're consistently trying to group up. They're looking for kills, they're trying to make things happen, and they've been doing it very, very well. I love the Untouchable build, by the way that they were able to get 2 quick Roshans with the help of the Medallion and the Alchemist. That supplemented their lanes so much that they were actually able to take these engagements. And now there's a Shadow Blade done on Luo. He did rush the BKB because he absolutely couldn't go into fights with that one, otherwise the CK and the OD would just destroy him.
Right.
So I think Rattlesnake are actually in very good shape, because their 5-man right now is better than Liquid's. If they group up and they start pushing into the tier 2s, the only option that Liquid will really have is to split push, and you're not going to out split push. You're not going to split push faster than a 5-man team is going to push you. That's basically what I'm getting at.
Well, when I look at Rattlesnake, and they are smoked up and gonna go headhunting, they just, like, every core item that's really necessary for them is now complete. Luo did get the BKB, now he has a Shadow Blade to go with it. Kabu has a mech and an urn, so the regen is going to be there. BKB even for Icy, even though he had a bit of a rough start to begin, and never mind, he's gonna hook onto a Treant. Mike, gonna dodge the Cox, here we go. Re-engage with 4-second Chaos Bolt on Sag, to bang down by a Phantasm. He uses a Ghost Scepter, though, is gonna keep him alive. Now they're going to re-engage, and TC finds himself on the bad end of things. Fluff and Stuff can't save him, as he ends up dead. And the rest of Liquid forced to pull back, but this is what I was getting. That's exactly what I was getting ready to point out. All of these key items, you look at Sag. Sag is stupidly survivable as a Chikiro. Has a Force Staff and a Ghost Scepter. We're going to see Luo and Kabu just flat out destroy IX Mike. And now Fluff going to try to TP away too much damage. Way too much damage. And yeah, Rattlesnake with every item they need to make this lineup click.
Radiant's middle tower
Showing it off right there. Didn't even have to come within a gnat's whisker of risking that Aegis either. Just picking Liquid apart.
Rattlesnake have had Liquid's number, more or less. Liquid have, I mean, there's nothing else to say. They just played really sloppy. Really sloppy in comparison to yesterday when they beat Tongfu. It's not even the same team. Like, this is really, really surprising to see Liquid play this way. I mean, there's almost a Hex done on the Prophet, which is nice, but I think Rattlesnake are just going to go for the base push here.
Radiant's middle tower is under
Tier
attack.
3, under assault.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
And really, I mean, all 5 are up. It just comes down to how risky Rattlesnake wants to play. They still got plenty of time on this Aegis, and by the way, not only do they have plenty of time on the Aegis, Lanham's about as he's Scrooge McDuck rich is what he is. He's got 5,400 gold just hanging out. So he's going to be able to pick and choose whatever item he wants to try to find to close this game out. In fact, I want to keep an eye on him. But, I mean, the gold graph plus 5,000 doesn't sound like it's that big a deal at this stage. I mean, it's certainly worth mentioning, but it's just, I think the compositions are beginning to bear themselves out. And really, the CKIO has not panned out the way you wanted to. You know, there was a point where Liquid was trying to get into that groove. But Rattlesnake just coped with it so well. They never really gave them any real openings, and their counter engagements were wonderful. And as you mentioned, that was certainly helped by Liquid having a bit of sloppy play throughout this entire game. And, you know, against a team like Rattlesnake, who thrives on counter initiation, thrives on counter aggression, you just don't have a lot of room to make those mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, this CK is 1-5.
Yep.
and all he has is a BKB at 30 minutes in. The hero that they were aggressively tri-laning against has a BKB Shadowblade Medallion and 2,000 gold. So clearly not getting ahead in the farm department, even though if you look at the CS, it's still pretty much all Liquid. But Rattlesnake don't care. They don't care about splitting the map. They don't care about trying to counter push. They just care about forcing fights, and they've been doing it successfully since around the 10 to 15 minute mark. So if they keep doing this, Liquid are eventually going to get in a position where they have to back. They can't split farm anymore because they're too scared. The only person who can really leave the base like that is TC with Fluff, because they can potentially TP to a fight. But when a lineup that's built to be able to split push and use the map can't do either of those things anymore, your game plan is pretty much fallen through. And this game is pretty much all Rattlesnakes to lose.
Rattlesnake just smoked across the entire length of the map. Beautiful hook out of Icy. Now TC gonna be locked down. Fluff and Stuff's gonna hook up. They need to catch him. Ice Path right on the money. Got all three. And that'll be that. They just lost three quick as you could say their names. And Bulba and Korok forced to turn tail and run. The execution of that fight, beginning to end, was just wonderful. Sag in a great position, hits a great ice path after a phenomenal hook from Icy, coming across the little temple area. I always wondered what this thing is. I'm sure there's some explanation in the lore. But nonetheless, look how aggressive the warding has become. Warding out both of them. I'm actually surprised. I mean, they don't have the creep wave, but surprised they're not just all going to get that creep wave and all trying to push down that tier 2. For now, though, Luo trying to bait something out. He's got a passenger now just going to farm.
Yeah, that ice path, by the way, that was a 4-man ice path. That hit everyone pretty much. So, yeah, Bulba's here. He's going to try to go for Luo and realize there's a lifestealer inside.
Luo got blown up quick. Lanham with that heart. Very tough to kill, but does need a little help with damage. And Lanham has some help now. There's a 4-staff on Korok. Drops the ulti, but the relocation timer wears off. There's the dust. Bulba was caught by that and going to be hit by the hook. Bulba right at the edge of the dust distance. That's just one of those bad luck kind of moments. He turned tail about 2 steps too late. But Rattlesnake able to turn it around and go 1 for 1.
And not too bad. I don't think losing Luo for that is terrible, because the thing about the Nature's Prophet being dead is that that takes away from Liquid's backup plan, which is split push. And if he can't split push, then Liquid basically have no plan. I mean, look at what TC and Fluff are doing. They're going to run into the woods to try to farm. They can't even farm a lane. That's how scared they are. And their vision, they have a ward inside of Rattlesnake's jungle, and then they have a ward basically that's covering near the bottom rune spot. So that vision really doesn't give them anything, because Rattlesnake have no intention of farming their woods. They have every intention of taking away map control from Liquid. So basically the only thing those wards say is, okay, well obviously they're not playing passive. Well, big surprise.
Radiant's bottom tower
15 to 27, been a very active game. 42 kills in a 33-minute game. And one of only 2 outer tier towers remaining for Team Liquid will be dropping here as well.
Radiant's bottom
The rest of
tower
Liquid
has
playing
fallen.
very far back, playing very defensive. And this is when you know things have gone wrong for this kind of a lineup. When you have a lineup with a CK, IO, Nature's Prophet, and an OD, and you're playing back under your tier 3s for fear of being anywhere else, that's when you know maybe things got away from you in the early game. And really that's what we're seeing here. It's just Rattlesnake weathered the storm and was able to put themselves in a position in the mid game where Liquid is just not going to feel potent at all. It's just a lineup, a composition that you cannot play from behind with.
Yeah, that botched teamfight middle, I think, was really where the game just absolutely fell apart from Liquid. There was so much lack of coordination and communication during that fight that they just gave away everything, more or less. They lost, I believe, Korok in that fight too, and TC. So every single fight, they're able to kill TC. I mean, he's got 6 deaths. Korok has been doing a pretty good job of staying alive, but Bulba has 7 deaths. Even though they have a tremendous amount of CS, these heroes are dying way too often to actually accumulate any real items. Normal circumstances, at 34 minutes, Bulba would probably have his full BKB done, and maybe like another damage item on top of that, to a point where he would actually be a threat in these fights to heroes like Luo or Lanham. So, because he doesn't, obviously Rattlesnake are still feeling confident, and finally this ward is going to be paying off. But Sagam, he's got a gem, so he just dewards it, and now Liquid are totally blind, but Roshan is up. It's being scouted out by the Enchantress troll here. And if they don't go for it, Rattlesnake are just going to fight them, and then they're going to take it.
Liquid trying to make something happen. Going to run right into Kabu. Kabu spotted out. And taking some damage. Landham's there. Good side device going to lock him down. However, the counter initiation's there. We see Bulba caught inside the cogs. Now TC goes Phantasm. Another good ice path though. Lock Liquid down. And here comes the pain as Luo just goes to work, chopping apart any hope Liquid had of a victory here in this game. And that's going to make it a full 5. 5 down, soon to be 6 is Roshan. Not going to be any happier about it than Liquid is. This will be cheese. And any chance they had, reliant on making something happen and slowing down this progression of Rattlesnake. Luo has reached that point, even as bad of a start as he had farm-wise. He caught up quickly. Didn't even put points into Greevil's Greed. But now at 36 minutes, his net worth has caught up to the Nature's Prophet. How often do you hear that? Even for an Alchemist, that's tough to do, to catch up to a Midas Prophet after he has that many struggles and doesn't max Greevils. But with the... So yeah, he just flat out bought an Assault Cuirass.
He's got some money.
It's
not too bad. But Korok didn't even get to ulti there. Like the problem is, even if they focus one hero down on the side of Rattlesnake, it pretty much has to be either Luo or Lanham. And
yeah.
Lanham went for the heart because he knew that he was one of the biggest threats to the team, so he's so tanky. He even got hexed out, and he couldn't get bursted down by the OD in time because, again, there was no ulti. So if they don't instantly kill one of those heroes, Liquid have absolutely no chance of winning the fight. And for the next fight, there's Cheese and an Aegis on Luo and Lanham, respectively. So this game, I was actually surprised they didn't just GG after losing that fight at Roshan, because I think there is a very slim chance that they're going to be able to defend the space push.
Just want to point out the sand is cliff farming. That's K. But Rattlesnake pushing down top lane now.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
We'll take down the last remaining vestige of map control that Team Liquid had.
Radiant's top tower
And line their
fallen.
pockets in the process, though. At this point, their pockets are lined with panda tears and gold spun silk. 14,000 gold their lead, and 25,000 experience. And yeah, I think they're just going to push it. This should be really it. There's just so little that Liquid can actually do to hope to win in a 5-on-5 at this point. They're just too big. Time went by way too much.
CK is not even 16, so there's no level 3 Phantasm.
Here we go. There's going to be another hook in. TC going to be the target. TC's not going to get the swing. Beautifully executed. They're just going to chop him down. That's GG. And Team Liquid, who really had some early success, now getting run over as we come down the stretch, and there it is. They really had some early success. That early tri-lane, did not go poorly at all. And part of me wonders if, we talked about it whenever they decided to abandon it, and it wasn't for long. Like, they just bounced around trying to make something happen elsewhere. But then whenever they ran back up there, by that time the Alchemist had caught up in a lot of ways. And it just seemed like they never really had that same kind of control they did at that point. And even the relocation ganks, just more than anything, rather ineffectual, man. That's not so much Liquid screwing up as it is Rattlesnake just playing this matchup out perfectly.
I think it was both. I think Liquid screwed up a lot this game. Like, more times than I can even count. Like, it was really overall sloppy play by Liquid. But Rattlesnake, they did exactly what they had to do. Like, even Lanham going bottom to kill the Nature's Prophet, like, who expects that? There was no way that Bulba was expecting a Lifestealer to come down there with a DD and go for the first split. But Rattlesnake took the unconventional routes. They went for the proper targets. They went for the Wisp CK. They didn't let the Wisp CK ganks get to the... So when they leave the Wisp in the pool, it's not because they want to prioritize something else. It's because they know how to play against it. And even though the laning phase still went pretty well for Liquid, they gave away too much, too many times, and Rattlesnake, even if they don't have a better farming team, they certainly had a better 5 versus 5 team, and Sagam's Ice Pass might just be considered legendary after this game.
No joke. 1-8-9, the way TC finishes up this game. He's going to be happy to get this one behind him, I'm sure. Team Liquid going to look to split the series, but Rattlesnake, wanting to keep any hope of making it to the upper bracket alive, they're going to need to run the table more or less today to make that a reality, and that certainly is something that's going to have to start with a 2-0 blanking of Team Liquid. Team Liquid, again, yesterday actually beating Tongfu, though. So Liquid, and I talked about it during the pregame, this unfortunately has been what's characterized them. Up and down play, looking for that consistency, but they're running out of time if they're going to find it. They're going to have to find it here today on our second day of the group stage. I'm your host, Aaron A.C. Chambers. Draskell with me as always for the analysis and commentary. We'll both be right back with Game 2 of this Best of 2 coming up next.